Ah, horror movies. Those masterpieces that illustrate just how fucked up we are as a species. But who doesn't love excessive gore, jump scares, and PTSD? Not me, that's for sure. And today, I'm going to talk about my favourite horror movies and franchises, so cue the intro. Alright guys, I'm a bloke, I'm from Bristol, and I have a beard. So today, in my second part of my four-part sort of Halloween-ish series, I'm going to talk about my favourite horror movies and franchises, which is much more Halloween related. Although the clown video was Halloween related, because, you know, clowns are scary. So when talking about my favourite horror movies and franchises, I won't be compiling a list because I have no favourite, because I love these movies and franchises equally for their own things. So first off, I'm going to talk about a franchise I really enjoy, The Evil Dead. The first Evil Dead became a cult classic for its awesome practical effects, stop motion, excessive gore and profanity. I mean, a girl gets raped by a tree. Also, you gotta love Bruce Campbell. The way that the possessed people acted and the things they said were very over the top and comical, which is why in Evil Dead 2, which is my favourite of the Evil Dead series by the way, the film was played off very tongue-in-cheek and was very self-aware and much more comical, which made it all the more fun to watch. Take the laughing scene for example. Also, who can forget the badass swallow this line?
Hey, I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul!
Swallow this.
Now, I actually love all the films in the Evil Dead franchise, but I love the Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 in particular, because of how Sam Raimi was able to put together decent movies with very little budget, very little resources, and only one location. And I find that level of creativity very admirable as an aspiring filmmaker. Army of Darkness and the 2013 remake were good and had better budgets. Army of Darkness was much more a grand scale, and the 2013 remake, although good, kinda felt like a generic horror movie, not conveying any of the originality the original had, which is a shame. Another horror franchise I really enjoy is the Friday the 13th franchise, with the first film being the pioneer for slasher films to come, and also created by the most iconic characters in horror film history, Jason Voorhees. A character who is very interesting simply because we barely know anything about him, and kills people in the most brutal of ways, but somehow we still feel sympathetic for Jason, because he is just trying to get revenge for the murder of his mother. Each movie has a simple premise. Teenagers come to Crystal Lake. Jason kills teenagers, one by one. Last teenager kills Jason, and rinse and repeat. It's blissfully simple, well, except for later installments when Jason gains the ability to travel from body to body, and then goes to space and becomes upgraded to Space Jason, which was fucking stupid. But on the flip side, you can't fault the writer's creativity, and although Jason 10 being a shit pile of absurdness, was responsible for another movie that came out a couple years later, which I will get to in a bit. Another slasher film I love is Halloween, which is a slasher film more grounded in reality, as it is about a person called Michael Myers who is simply evil and has no motivations for killing, which makes his character more terrifying as there is no reason for what he is doing. Also, who hasn't got chills from Myers' mask and the way he slowly advances on people with his carving knife? I said that Halloween is grounded in reality, but realism doesn't exactly stick with the Halloween franchise. Sticking with the slasher theme, in case you can't tell, I love me some slasher movies. The Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is another favourite of mine because of the way that the slasher genre is reinvented by the premise of a killer that can invade your dreams, making for a killer that is impossible to escape from. Also, because Freddy Krueger can manipulate the dream world to kill people in any way possible, it makes for some really, really creative and awesome deaths. Also, Freddy Krueger is much different than most slasher villains as he talks and delivers some great one-liners.
From the prime time, bitch!
And is played greatly by Robert Englund, making for a very watchable and creative franchise. Which moves me on to one of my favourite crossovers, Freddy vs Jason, being two of my favourite slasher icons going head to head with one-liners from Freddy, brutal kills from Jason, and tons of gore. plus a sick soundtrack, what's not to love? I should also mention that Freddy vs Jason would never have happened if not for the shitty film Jason 10, which made Jason relevant again and gave New Line Cinema enough of a push to make Freddy vs Jason. So, thanks for that, Jason 10. Moving away from the slasher films, I want to talk about another horror movie that had me really terrified as a kid, but I now really love. And that film is Jaws, with its suspenseful POV view from the shark, the tense theme tune, the shark's first appearance, and the "we're gonna need a bigger boat" line, and so much more great scenes. This is truly one of Steven Spielberg's greatest masterpieces, and every aspect of the film fits so perfectly, and to this day nobody can go swimming in the sea without having a little bit of fear of what's lurking in the depths below. Finally, The Blair Witch Project, which was a very small scale movie with a small main cast of 3 people, a very small budget, shooting with a camcorder and just the woods as a location, and also no special effects. The movie had to rely on the performances of the actors and the tension between the characters to pull the movie off, and they did just that. Also by utilising the internet with clever advertising techniques, the movie managed to gather a lot of attention and was a great success, costing only $22,000 to make, and it made back a phenomenal $240.5 million. I find the Blair Witch Project to be very decent for what it was. Right, so I'm going to wrap up my video here. Hope you enjoyed it. So in my next video I'm going to talk about how the image of vampires have changed over time in the media, and whether it's been a good change or a bad change. So that's it for now, guys. Give this video and this channel some love, and I will see you in a bit.